not only hitting 1,200 followers between my Instagram, my YouTube, and my TikTok account, I also want to do something kind of special as an homage to celebrating July, which is considered Pride Disability Month. This was something that I wasn't fully aware of before, so this is kind of a new situation, but it's to help celebrate and pay tribute to those who have afflictions during their daily lives. I, for one, am a part of that because a couple of my afflictions involve having a little bit of ADHD, a little bit of dyslexia, as well as having depression and anxiety. I've also had a few of my own issues in my life, so I want to do this look as a fun celebration because it does not matter who you are, what your background is, etc., etc. We are all humans by the end of the day. We all are born the same, and we will all eventually die. What you do with your life in between those two moments is up to you. So for today, I want to do a fun look based off the colors of the Pride Disability flag, which are red, yellow, white, blue, green, and black. With red, it represents physical disabilities, for obvious terms. Yellow is for neurodiversity, such as ADHD, dyslexia, Tourette's, those kind of situations. More of synapses that are not firing right. Then you have white, which represents invisible or undiagnosed disabilities, probably some that are considered more benign at the beginning but don't realize how dangerous it can lead later on. Blue, which is where I am in the spectrum, is for emotional psychiatric disabilities including mental illness, anxiety, and depression, obviously. Then you have green for sensory disabilities including deafness and blindness, of course. And then black, that represents the anger of the neglect that disabled people have to fight against. So it's not an unknown thing that those who are disabled have a sort of, I want to say in the term grievance, or an envy for those who don't have these afflictions. It's hard to kind of go through life with these kind of affiliations. I mean, I don't think I started having anxiety or depression until around the midst of 2020 during the peak of the COVID outbreak, when during the holidays when you had to wear the masks and stuff, I felt like I was losing a part of myself because I couldn't show off my makeup and such, and had a bit of a snap to where I had my first. But today we are going to have fun. This is a tutorial just to have fun. We're going to create colors. With this particular look, I want it to be... Hi, Allison. We are going to turn these colors of the Disability Pride flag into what I would love to call the ink blot makeup. I've seen a few of these online, commonly known as the Rorschach test or the ink blot test. This is basically the psychological evaluation of what it is that you see. With that, we are going to turn these colors into a ink blot test of sorts for the makeup. So it's going to be very articulate, very abstract, and fun. So starting off, we are going to prime the face. I'm going to be using a mixture of the Sheer Envy Matte Primer Serum from Hard Candy Cosmetics, about 2 squirts of those. A little bit of my Color Stay Grip Primer Matte from Revlon Cosmetics. A little bit of that in there. And then just to make sure that things are truly saturated and mattified, we are going to use the Rimmel London Stay Matte Mattifying Primer. And then later down the road, I'm going to be using a blurring stick on my nose before applying any foundation there, just to make sure things are matte, oil-free, and a good way to grip. For me personally, I like my face to be matte, so that way it reduces the texture. So I'd rather be more dry than anything else. Um, and with today's look, we aren't going to do brows, so that's already a big step out of the way since I want the colors to really be blown out and as symmetrical as I possibly can. With today's foundations, I'm going to be using a mixture of my Ellen Tracy Full Coverage to Light Medium Foundation, about 1 pump of that, a little bit of my She Glam, where'd you go? Here it is. My She Glam Complexion Pro Lasting Matte Foundation, about 1 squirt of that. And then just to add a little bit of color, we're going to use this Ulta Beauty Youthful Glow Serum Drops in the shade Medium Cool. So it has a little bit of dark to it, but it'll help kind of even it out towards my skin tone by the end of the video. And we are just going to pack on the foundation first before spreading it out with a brush. Now, aside from the tutorial, I have a few things I wanted to talk about with some upcoming looks that I'm planning on trying to do, as well as something exciting happening in just a couple weeks. And we'll start with that. On July 19th, the premiere of Twisters will be coming out in theaters, which I'm excited to see because Twister was one of my favorite movies growing up as a kid, being fascinated with the weather and tornadoes. So it's exciting to see that they are coming out with a secondary movie almost 18 years later, which I'm either guessing is a sequel or a sort of reimagined version of the original being brought into modern times. Kind of like what they did with Carrie with the 2013 version, bringing more of like cyberbullying and technology into it when the original was set in the 70s, of course. With contouring, I'm going to be going with my tried and true. I'm going to use my Hard Candy Glamouflage Full Coverage Foundation in Warm Almond, along with the Hard Candy Face Off Bronzer in Chocolate Dip. So it's a dark bronzer with a lightly dark foundation just to give a contouring on the sides of my temples here. With Twisters, that was actually a movie I had auditioned for in hopes of being an extra. Never really did hear back from it, even though I did a normal photo shoot instead of anything with my makeup on, just to not really get an eye batted at. Didn't really hear anything back, which, you know, in the business, whether you do or not, it happens or it don't. But the fact that it's becoming a fruitioned movie and it'll be out later this July, I'm excited to go see in theaters. I've been fascinated with tornadoes ever since I was a kid, with the weather in general, really. So with characters like Storm from the X-Men, any tornado movie from Twisters, Into the Storm, The Day After Tomorrow, or even let's see, there's some small movies that were on the Sci-Fi Channel. Atomic Twister, Category 6, The Day of Destruction, or Category 7, The End of Worlds. All having to do with like weather-related natural disaster movies are ones that I love the most. But in some cases, like movies like Sharknado or Ice Twister, Stonenado, all that, they just kind of use the same copy and paste Blender tornado styles, and to me it looked half lazy made. But this movie looks incredible, and I'm hoping it's not to where the trailers supersede the movies like I've seen before. For concealer today, I'm using these new Revolution Super Concealers with a Hyaluronic Hydro Boost, and this is C1, which is their lightest shade, and we're going to use this for the highlight of the center of the forehead. These concealers are actually pretty nice. They're not full coverage, which is okay, but they are very blendable, very natural looking, to where it feels really nice and smooth, and they blend out like a dream. And they're only $5 at Walmart, so I'm pretty happy with the way these concealers work, and I was excited when they finally came out with them. Alright, and now we're going to set the upper half of the face first, using my airspun concoction of powders to just set the forehead, the sides, and everything. But back on topic, seeing every trailer so far with Twisters, I'm like dumbfounded at how good it looks, especially seeing in one of the parts of the trailer of the tornado hitting what I am guessing is an oil refinery and turning into a fire tornado, which they've taken inspiration from Into the Storm with the fire twister there. And saying that the heat of the fire is intensifying the tornado, and it grows from what looks like an F1 rope tornado into what appears to be a stovepipe twister. So I'm really hoping this movie isn't where the trailer supersedes the entire movie and it turns out to be a disappointment. Fingers crossed that it don't. To highlight the center of the forehead, I'm going to be taking this e.l.f. Camo Powder Foundation in 205 Light. We're just going to buff the center here just to highlight, since we have no brows today. But I'm super excited with the movie, so I'm praying when I go to see it next Thursday? No, the Thursday after, or the Friday after, and seeing where it goes from there. The second thing I wanted to kind of talk about before we start priming, I have a fun idea for some looks I want to do later down the road involving Pokemon, which is making inspirations of Pokemon types, which there are 18 of them, and turning them into conceptual looks, which is something I'm curious about trying to do. Since we aren't going to be doing brows today, I'm going to take this Profusion Pigment Base eyeshadow primer in white, and we're going to prime the lids, or at least the eyes here. And we're going to try to get these colors as symmetrical as possible. But for a while now, I've been kind of debating on doing some looks based off of Pokemon. The biggest and probably the most obvious one would be doing Eevee evolutions. But then when I saw that there were like 18 different Pokemon types to play with, I kind of thought to myself, what would it be like if we could turn all these types into inspiration or into conceptual makeup looks? Like, for instance, normal type Pokemon would be basic. It's just an everyday pretty look. And then doing something like Ice to where you look like something from Elsa. Or with Poison, it'd be very dark and drippy looking. But we'll see. With today, I'm going to be using my top 3 favorite colorful palettes to do this look. One of them being, of course, my W7 Mardi Gras palette. And like I said, with today's colors, we're going to be doing red, yellow, white, blue, green, and then black, representing the 6 colors of the Disability Pride. And then, of course, a tried and true for any makeup artist is the James Charles Morphe palette. Still haven't gone through this completely yet. And I still have a full-size one that I haven't even touched yet, still sitting in the drawer. And then, this I got from Burlington, from the brand BB. It's their rainbow palette here. And it is known that a lady do go to dinner with a purse first. Bam! I've been watching Drag Race nonstop since now that I've gotten WoW Presents Plus. I've been trying to catch up on Drag Race UK and Canada to make sure I'm caught up with everyone. So with today, we're going to start off with reds. And with the red, I kind of want to do like a fun flared out brow kind of fun brow moment, because when I think of reds, usually I kind of think of like creepy demonic kind of styles. So taking the red from the BB palette, and along with a packing brush, we are going to start off with And then just taking a little bit of red from the James Charles palette, we're going to kind of build off of that. And we're gonna cut this first using my foundation from Hard Candy in the shade Vanilla. And then where's that brush at? Here they are. And taking this flat dome brush, we're going to cut underneath this and try to sharpen it a little. So we're gonna really try to make this look fun and abstract as possible. Kind of like so, and then taking a more finite detailing brush, we're going to do the similar over the top, trying to get this to look a little dense, or at least straight. That'll be good enough for now. Just try to clean out that edge. So that's the start of that side, and then we will do that to this side, trying to keep things as symmetrical as possible. Oh yes, Pokemon types. So I've been in love with Pokemon for God knows how long. I remember growing up having Pokemon Blue on my Game Boy Color as a kid. And so at times it's like I want to do looks based off of Pokemon, especially ones like Beautifly where it almost looks like a stained glass, or Butterfree, like any of the bug type Pokemon, to be honest, to have something kind of fun to play with there. Not that one. Yes, you are. Okay, add a little bit of color back into that. Let's see. Basically, I was discussing about the new Twisters movie that's coming out in about 2 weeks, as well as additionally wanting to do some looks based off of Pokemon types. Like just taking the concept of the types and turning them into a makeup look. And so right now I'm working on the red of the Pride disability flag and trying to make some kind of a fun abstract ink blot look. Just trying to blend and trying to keep this as symmetrical as I possibly can. You see, that was one idea I had about doing Eevee evolutions. There's a freaking hair. There we go. Oh yeah, especially doing concepts like with Vaporeon with water, Jolteon with electricity, Umbreon with darkness, and then Espeon with the psychic style. Pretty much. So I think we'll stop there right now for the red. Let me set at least the undersides of these brows with some white. So what I was saying with this look, Jordan, is that I'm turning the colors of the disability pride flag into what's considered like the ink blot test makeup, which is also known as a Rorschach test. So taking the 6 different colors and trying to turn it into a symmetrical ink blot style look. Okay, and now moving on to yellow, which I want to work in the inner corners, so to speak. Take a little bit of yellow from the BB palette. bit of yellow from James Charles. We're going to feather out the outer parts of this. Boy, do I know it. Thankfully, it feels like the heat dome from over Oklahoma is finally starting to dissipate. Or at least it's wishful thinking that I hope it is. And if y'all have any questions or comments that you want to list out, I will try to answer them as promptly as possible. And please keep it friendly. This is a fun zone, not a debate zone. So nothing of stupidity or, God forbid, derogative of any kind, please. Whoop. Sneak peek of ideas. The Pokemon types were one of them. Not really sure what else I could think of on the spot. Some things I keep looking back at old photos that I've posted on Facebook and trying to think of maybe recreating or redoing old ideas that I've done. Some of them involving like recreating some of my favorite drag queens looks that they've done on the show. Or hold on. Yeah, basically like doing updated versions of looks I've done before that I may not be as proud of now as I was then. But at the same time, I was such a novice then. I felt like I was on top of the world doing all these looks so much, and then I'm like, you thought. Right up the nose there. The clouds rolling in. Okay. And I think with the yellow, I'm going to do some little dots here and there to kind of be like the ink blot splotches. I'm just gonna set this lid. Let's try this. Okay, so next up we are going to hit blue, which is where I end up on the spectrum, having anxiety and depression. I'm going to take this really cute light blue here from the James Charles palette, and we're going to kind of do something. Sorry if I keep blocking the mirror, it's a muscle memory. Kind of like that so far. See, I brought that further over than I thought, so. I guess if this doesn't turn out the way I want, I could always say it was a Chinese dragon. And I'm going to take some sky blue from the W7 and try to do the same thing with the It's funny, the more I keep looking at this, it's starting to turn into what looks like a circus performer would wear, but once I start using the black liner to really do the detailing, then hopefully it comes together a little bit more. Try to finesse those lines a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to work on the bottom half of the face. Going in with my Revolution Pro blurring stick, this will help mattify my nose a little bit more and give the foundation something to stick to. Even though I'm not wearing this all day long, but this is what I would do to help make sure that the foundation sticks on my nose, because on my right side here, for some reason it doesn't want to stay. So when I learned using a mattifying stick on your problem areas, it kind of helps give the foundation something to stick a hold to. I'm going in with my Ellis Tracy and Fair to Light foundation. We're going to use a little bit of this along with my Revolution Pro Super Concealers in both C2 and C1. Use the C2 on the outer edge here. And then we'll use the C1 towards the inner corners. Oh, it's Asha. That was on Trixie. I guess off topic, lately I've really gotten into playing Disney Dreamlight Valley. It's one of those really fun large resource games like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, but with Disney characters. It's really cute, and it's got its little quirks here and there. Close enough. Alright. Now for the nose contour. I'm going to take a little of this Tea Time bronzer from Hard Candy. Using a flat brush, we're going to draw out the bottom of the nose. And then gently going up the side. It's been out for a while. And it's on the Switch, but it's pretty fun to play because it's playing with some of the more famous known characters from Disney, and you make friends with them. The premise of the game is that you're revisiting a childhood home, and then you start to remember something about being the ruler of a kingdom. And then when you fall into like a sleep state, you meet up with Merlin from The Sword in the Stone, who talks about how the kingdom has fallen into turmoil because of something called the Forgottening, which is basically the idea of a child growing up and slowly losing memory of their childhood. And so your main character has to do quests and stuff to try to unlock her memories of this kingdom. And over the course of the game, you meet up with Disney characters like Mickey, Minnie, Donald Duck, and slowly progressing of rebuilding the kingdom again in your own image. And of course, much like a lot of those games, you can customize the entire kingdom the way you want it to, build it to look like a Disney park, freaking hair, or in your own kind of utopia. So there's a lot more customization to the game than anything else, which is really fun. Okay, takes care of the nose. Now for the bottom half of the face. And going back in with the 3 foundations from before. So the next color that we're going to hit is going to be green, which is for sensory disabilities like deaf and blindness. Live, laugh, love. God blessed and be blessed. You do you and I do me. And that's all she wrote. Contour. Here she is. Oh, thank you. It's supposed to be mimicking like a Rorschach or an inkblot testing, but the more I'm looking at it, it's like, it looks more like a circus performer of some sorts. But we shall see in the end when I start adding the black to really emphasize the detailing. Or I guess in some ways it almost kind of looks like Fizzaroli. And for those who don't know, it's a character off of Hell of a Boss, which is a animated series on YouTube, which is really fun in most cases. Definitely gives you the feels in certain episodes. Okay, now onto blush. I'm going to be using a new shade from Profusion's Power Blush called Air April Spritz, which is like a fun nudie tone. Because the eyes are going to be so intense along with the rest of the makeup, I don't want the blush to be as overpowering. Oh yeah, this is like a really good peachy style. Thank you. It's taken me quite a while to get my contour to look this good without it looking too heavy. Though, of course, at times I also tend to over blush, and that adds age and weight to the face. When it comes to contouring, you don't want it to curve, because then that's like adding a weight to like having a jowl or a really heavy cheek. You want it to kind of hit at an angle to where it's going and not. Take that with you will with the sound effects. But if it ain't fun, you ain't having fun. And then I'm going to try out this new liquid highlighter from About Face Cosmetics in Light Lock, which is like a really fun golden color. Now I have, yeah, that description, yep. It's always fun to add the sound effects because then you are just having fun with it. With this About Face, I'm going to take a little on the back of my hand. Whoa, that is metallic. Taking a little on a beauty blender and just. Damn. It dries down very quickly though, too. Good base for highlighter. Now we're going to set the under half of the face. There. Excuse me. Whew. And now to dust this all off. Dusty, dusty, dusty red bottoms. Where'd my dusting powder go? I'm like an idiot. Oh, yep, Lake's falling asleep. Oh God. Alright, now for the powdered nose contour. I'm going to be using a mixture of this Bitter Butter Physicians Formula Illuminating Powder with a flat edge Eco Tool sponge, and then just a smidgen of the light powder from the e.l.f. And we're going to go right down. Center of the nose. And then with powders, I'm going to be using this contour powder kit from Babe Beauty, Babe Beauty, or BBB, and taking like some of the, oh, that's not the right brush. That would have been a whoopsie. this brush. Yeah, you first, Califa. I'll see you there. Where do I set that brush at? And then taking my powder puff along with a little bit of my She Glam powder. And just a smidgen of my matte powder here. Okay, and then taking my powder brush, a little bit of that e.l.f. light, and then a smidgen of this L'Oreal True Match powder in C5. Just gonna lightly do the outer edges of the front here. Well, some people are just jealous that they can't do this kind of makeup, or they can never do anything in their life. I'd say if you have to go out of your way to say something like that to somebody, it's out of a sense of insecurity that they can't do this, and jealousy is a killer in the industry, yet some of us can thrive off of it. Not being narcissistic, but you know, I don't go out of my way to tell someone to go to hell or that they look hideous or whatnot. To each their own. If they don't like it, they don't like it. Just sucks to suck that you have to be that drab to do so. Okay, moving on to contour. 1 little, 2 little, 3 little stupid brushes. So with my contour, I'm going in with my tried and true here. Starting off. Oh yeah. No, they can pop in and off all they want to. By the end of the day, I've gotten their attention. I'm taking my NYX Buttermelt Bronze in the shade Buttercup. I'm going to contour these cheeks. In my mindset, when you go out of your way to comment somebody, especially like me with the makeup I'm doing, it's either A, out of a sense of insecurity that you can't do it yourself so you're jealous, or insecure enough that you can't live your life as truthfully as I can. I've been doing this for about 10 years in public, especially at a place like Walmart, for God's sakes. And I get looks all the time, whether if it's good or bad, but by the end of the day, I've gotten your attention. And, well, the funny thing is I made this to where it shouldn't be for kids, so somebody's parents are not being watchful. But if you honestly have to go out of their way to comment on someone's video or just to do a comment like that, You obviously have no life outside of the screen. And by the end of the day, you're a little punk on the screen that thinks there's something. You're not. Alright. Moving on to blush. Blushy blush. And we're going to try to keep the blush a bit minimal. I'm going to try out this Morphe 2 Oh So Nudie Blush Quad. And we're going to try out this little guy just to keep the blush a little bit on the neutral tone. Even though there's a little bit of peach on this brush, but mixing it with this helps to kind of tone it down. Oh yeah. And then taking that L'Oreal True Match, we're going to take that packing brush and try to clean up the undersides here to not only chisel the hell out of this cheek, I do powder or cream, bronzers, contour, and blush as a base, so that way it kind of maps out everything. And then after setting it with my powders, it kind of softens it, so I want to reinforce it to make sure everything is etched out and really put in. This is how I get my makeup to look a little bit more like airbrushed, so to speak. But it's also like hours of constant blending. I'm actually going to go in with this fresh peach blush as well, just to add a little color, because that brown blush kind of made the contour a little heavy, at least I can see. There we go, much better. Okay, now moving on to my favorite, highlighter. With this, I want it to definitely be very eye-catching, so I'm going to take both highlighters from these blush quads from Morphe. So from the Oh So Nudie and Fresh Peach, I'm going to take these two guys and pop those on my cheeks. Where did my favorite highlighter brush disappear to? Found her! So taking a little bit of Oh So Nudie, and then a little bit from the Fresh Peach. Oh, God. When this hits spotlights, it is like a damn diamond, and I love it. Just makes it look like my cheeks are glass. You would think that, but the makeups that I find, like I said before, I will find at like thrift stores like JC Penney's, Jesus Christ, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, Burlington, Ross. Some of the makeup can be expensive, but most of mine I will find on a budget or find cheap brands. Like with Revolution Cosmetics at Walmart, roughly everything in their products are $15 or less. Let's see. This Mardi Gras palette that I got from Burlington, I think was roughly at least $12. But W7 is another inexpensive makeup brand all on its own anyway. I think the very few expensive stuff I got were either gifts that I got myself just because it's like my birthday. The biggest instance, the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer, airbrush bronzer, $50. But it was my birthday and I wanted to own something from Charlotte just to say I have something. Or even like this little mini travel sculpt and highlight palette, $30. And I get what you're trying to say, Jordan. You don't have to keep retracting everything. You're trying to say, oh, sure, those are cheap. But most of my stuff, I mean, I'll just give you a quick glance. Like, all this mainly consists of either inexpensive brands or stuff I've saved over years and won't replenish until they're fully, like, dried out. Along with the friggin' drawer full of eyeshadow palettes I have tucked away in my back closet there. So now we're going to be moving on to the secondary color, which is green, which represents with deafness and blindness. Oh, thank you so much, Ashlyn. I'm taking my whiteout eye def marker or crayon from Hard Candy. We're going to do the waterline here to really open up the eyes. There we go. Okay. One key note when it comes to doing like your waterline here, if you use white, it helps to open it up. If you use black, it smokes it out, but it also kind of closes your eye. So you have to be wary when you're doing that. Oh yeah, definitely. When me and my husband did a makeup cleanse a couple years ago back at my old apartment, I got rid of 4.5 30-gallon trash bags worth of products ranging from lipsticks. Like for instance, I would have four of those kind of totes filled with lipsticks, and I reached up to about maybe 500 of them. All ranging from different colors, shades, textures, you name it. Now we're going to be going in with the green. I'm going to take this little dark green from the BB palette as a start color. We're going to keep this area open. I would say I have enough makeup in my room. If I were wanting to, I could turn it into a one-room little boutique if I had a chance, but whew. And then going in with a fluffier brush, we're going to take this electric lime green color from my Mardi Gras palette and buff this out. God, that makes such a difference when you have that base color and then you buff it out. Or at least it shows it better on camera. I debated on about doing people's makeup as a side hobby, but then I kept thinking if I turned it into a job, it would probably lose its fun and passion, and that's not something I want to do. I've done that once and it sucked. where I felt like I lost the drive of doing makeup anymore. And I really don't want to fall down that route again. Yeah, but at the same time, you also have to take into consideration that if it became a job where it was like a source of income, that would also fall in under the taxes with IRS. It's just like with winnings at the casino. If you won like a huge amount, that has to be taken into the consideration with your earnings through the year. And then that means I would be put into a higher tax bracket, which is not something I want to fall into. Money's one thing, but getting my ass charged more by the end of the year is another. Unfortunately, it's one of those situations where you either do it for your benefit or you eventually could fall in line with something else. Unfortunately, at that point, that's kind of like a lose-lose situation. And then we're going to take a little bit of this white concealer from LA Color. I mean, if I turned it into like a little tiny day job for like face painting and stuff, that might be different, but by the end of the day, that's also up to... Oh, well, thank you, Ashlyn. By the end of the day, that could also be determined by a tax bracket of sorts too, because even if you were doing it just for the fun, you never know. Whew. What do you mean by disability pride makeup? So the month of July is considered Disability Pride Month, much like with June was also considered Pride Month for LGBT as well as male suicidal awareness. So July is considered Disability Pride Month, so I'm doing a look based off of the Disability Pride flag, turning it into what's considered an ink blot test makeup. It's more on the conceptual side, but at the same time, it's also something I've been dying to do for a while now. We're going to set that under eye. But it was also, yeah, I didn't actually know about it either until just recently. Until I saw it like pop up in my Google feed, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. But there's a lot of stuff that I still don't fully know about. So there's probably some months that have special meaning to some people that I honestly may not have any idea what it truly is yet. It could be a possibility, but that's also falling in line of, I don't know. Like, I love makeup, but I've also seen and heard stories of with other makeup artists of how their clients can be very catty, and I have a very little tolerance level with people who want to either argue with me or question everything that I do, because then my mind would be like, here's your money, you're done, bye. And that's just being real. I don't know anyone from Minnesota, bye. Oh yeah, you have to realize with some people with their makeup, if it's not to the exact way they want it, they will throw the biggest fit. Like, here's a just a hypothetical story. When you get somebody that wants to have their makeup look like Kim Kardashian, they don't have the realistic standards of knowing that some of the photos that you see Kim K in are probably photoshopped and photo-tuned to where her skin is pure flawless. When you look at makeup, makeup is makeup. By the end of the day, you're not going to avoid having texture, your pores, your lines, wrinkles showing through makeup, because that's just how it is unless you are literally a porcelain doll. That's just the God honest truth with makeup in general, that most of the time when you see people with like the perfect skin, the perfect this and that, half the time it's going to be either a Facetune filter or a filter that just lightly blurs everything. Oh yeah, you have to have a realistic standard. Even if you put on a light amount of a tinted moisturizer, it's still makeup. Makeup is makeup no matter what you do. Which is why half the time, if you get a drag queen on a high definition camera, not pretty. Oh yeah, you gotta realize, I live in the middle of freaking Bible Belt, Oklahoma, and I work at a Walmart. When I do this, I will get looks left and right, whether if it's a good look or a judgmental look. There was one time when I did a Valentine's makeup where I had like the red hearts and everything, and I had some guy say, "Oh, I thought you were Satan." Biggest eye roll I've ever heard in my life. But by the end of the day, still got his attention. Give me a sec, my leg's starting to cramp up here. But in this day and age, I'm a gay guy that does makeup artistry. Even the days when I wear my ponytail trying to tie the look together, it's just something in my mind that makes the look complete, where I have the hair that matches it, the face that matches it. Oh yeah, he did. You gotta remember, this was an old southern kind of guy, like freaking redneck country style. And just because I had a bunch of these red glittery hearts glued to one side of my face, he wanted to sit there and say that, and it was just like. Or, for instance, one time I painted my face to look like a broken porcelain doll for Halloween, and I walked past a woman with her $2, and she had the audacity to go like, "What the fuck is on your face?" I shit you not, if it wasn't for my job, I would have told her, "It's called talent, honey. You need to find some." Right now, currently, Oklahoma. So I'm in the middle of like the southernmost unbalanced weather system I've ever witnessed in my life. But that's about as far as I'm going to say where I'm from, just in case. Oof. But I've had more than enough looks turned at work where it can either go positive or negative. And then just doing some black liner here. But there was this one time at Walgreens when I was working there as a beauty consultant. I had this old customer come in when I was dressed up as a vampire because this was during Halloween. And he wanted to sit there and be like, what are you doing and stuff like that, and I tell him, well, I'm dressed as a vampire, it's Halloween, and I am the beauty consultant. And then he wanted to make it such a big deal, and then out of nowhere he's like, well, at least you ain't gay, right? And I said, no sir, I am. And then he had the audacity to go up to one of my cashiers telling them that I was a walking disgrace and that I shouldn't be allowed to be living, practically. And this was probably like 2019 or 2018, roughly around that time when I first started. Yeah, evidently I was considered a walking sin in his eyes, and by the end of the day, my manager banned him from that store. She said that we do not tolerate any kind of discrepancy like that, especially when he is doing his job as a makeup artist. So you are no longer allowed to shop here, basically. Oh, trust me and believe. Some people, especially here, are just narrow minded where they will not broaden their horizons whatsoever. They don't even care whether if it's me being a makeup artist for the store or not. They just want to sit there and be that ignorant about it. I'm not even going to bother looking at that blocked message because it's not worth my time. Excuse me. Trying to think what more. Well, I'm still going to use the liner to create some more detailing work here. But what I found funny is I think probably a week or so later, his wife, who was embarrassed by him, came in and tried to apologize. And I told her straight up, ma'am, you're not the one that did anything, so you have nothing to apologize for. You know, I understood that she was embarrassed. Try going further back. Try thinking back to like the 1950s and 40s where it was almost illegal to basically be homosexual whatsoever. There were people that would be shot by the police for being gay, or arrested, or even worse. You would not have any rights. You would not be saved by any laws whatsoever. Now we're going to take this liner. To buff out this black a little bit. Oh yeah. Um, like back in the day, especially for like drag queens, you would have to wear at least three articles of clothing that had to represent your gender. And if you didn't, you could be arrested and jailed, or even worse for that matter. It was pretty rough then. And that's where like the whole Stonewall riot came from, to where this one club got tired of the police harping on them when they were just trying to be themselves. And so they stood up for themselves for it. Whew. But enough about that. Let's have some positivity here. Try to think of something fun. For the most part, I'm good, especially now it's my day off of work. Let's see. So now we're going to start doing some of the intricate detailing work of this black eyeliner. And I'm going to take this Rimmel liner and start doing some dot work. For Halloween, ooh, good question, good question. I think I might actually attempt of recreating my porcelain doll makeup that I did years ago, and try to finite the detailing of the cracks and stuff to where it doesn't look so messy. I know for my costume, I want to take inspiration from a fun well, I wouldn't say fun, but a very creepy urban legend known as La Llorona, the mistress ghost who drowned her kids. It's a very horrific story, which I don't know the full details of, but I have seen one of my favorite drag queens, Mirage, go as her on the main stage when they had the Mother of All Balls, and one of them was called Significant Mother, and she dressed up as, yes, the Mexican ghost who drowned her kids in the river. And they say if you ever hear her cries in the middle of the night, that your kids are probably next on the list. Ugh, got my legs, sorry. Yeah, well, not every ghost story is going to be a happy ending, that's for sure. But I think I remember seeing the movie for it, and I thought it was pretty damn intense, too. So it might be an idea that I would be doing. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave it there as far as the black. I think the dots are more than enough to suffice. So now we're just gonna do the lips and then get things finished up. You're cute. You're real cute. But the joke's on you. Not gonna have any kids. Ha 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 ha. Oh, I guess before, let me coat these lashes real quick. I'm gonna use this Lash Princess Mascara Curl and Volume from Essence Cosmetics. I believe these are only like $5, so. Look at that, another withheld comment. I'm dying to see what that one has to say. Oh, be careful. I do have this restricted where it doesn't show any of those kinds of comments. But in hindsight, I do agree. So for the lips today, I'm going to do a combination using this Lottie London Slay All Day liquid lipstick in the shade... Actually, it doesn't say. You're all good. But it's a cute little pink, and then outlining it with Cedar Later from Wet n Wild's Liquid Catsuit. I'm taking a little bit of this, and we're going to blot on the centers. Ooh, there's an edge I gotta clean up real quick. In my opinion, yes. Much like hold up. With Pride, that's the one time of the year that I always go all out with my makeup. But I don't try to do it borderline scary to where it would scare the kids. Because at my store, we do celebrate it and all, but at the same time, we want to keep it family friendly and appropriate. So even if I were to do like my traditional skull face makeup, I don't try to do it to where there's like any gore or anything too terrifying. Yeah, pretty much, but you also gotta take into consideration it's Halloween. You're gonna see some pretty scary looks out there. Okay, on to the final step, which are gonna be some lashes. And even though the eyes are pretty extra, I still want to play with some extra using these big fluff lashes I've created. Now, I want to add something to these lips. I just don't know what. I think I'll add a little bit of this LA Girls LA Color Holographic Iridescent Lip Gloss in the shade Heavenly, $1.98. Well, I mean, at the same time, I'm also talking, so it would take twice as long. But, I mean, that's the fun thing with makeup, is it's both a time-consuming and skill-having hobby. Sorry. Bit of lash glue on the lashes. I'm also going to do a little bit of my Ioni lash liner. Surprisingly, some of the looks recently that I thought would take hours to do. Oh, that went on good. I've gotten done within practically an hour and 45 minutes. For instance, that 20s Flapper Girl look that I did yesterday for work, I got done before it even reached 4:30, and I started at about 3. So I was like, wow, I got this stuff done faster than I anticipated. And usually some of the looks that look complex end up being the ones that I get done the quickest. But definitely the more you practice, it definitely does help, or definitely shows when you get things done at a faster rate. Damn it. I hate when it does that. It gets stuck on the tweezer. There we go. Okay, now what's left is just a coat of mascara. How long did it take you to come when you first start? Oh god. I think when I first started doing makeup, it would take roughly maybe almost 2.5 hours. And before I started doing it all in the mornings, I would go to work with my makeup supply which I would also stuff in my locker, by the way. You're talking about like a freaking tote bag of makeup on the go. I would do the foundation, contour, and all that first. And then on my lunch break, I would do my eyes and lips and then have everything done afterwards. But nowadays, I just get up early in the morning to do my looks before going to work. Or do them on the streams like today. Well, with that, I would say that we are pretty much done with this odd Rorschach colorful inspired look for our disability pride flag. Let me grab just a few things. All that's left now is just to add some of the small details here. Yeah, when I do some of those looks that I post online, I wear them for work. So basically at the self-checkout, I'm just standing there practically all dolled up like this, headband included. Headband and ponytail accentuated and all that. Well, I would say here we are. So this is my interpretation of the disability pride flag with this Rorschach weird abstract makeup look. Something bright, something colorful. May not make sense, but it's visually appealing. Much like me. Oh yeah, Walmart's been behind my back since I first started doing makeup, and they've encouraged me basically to be who I am. I guess a small side story before we do go. Years ago, when I was wearing my makeup and all that at work, I had this one customer who was part of the Oklahoma Pride Committee and asked if he could take a picture to post on his Pride column on his Facebook and Instagram. And I said, sure. And sure enough, his words of kindness had reached out to Walmart, and their head office actually called our store and called for me directly, asking if they could repost that particular comment or particular Instagram and Facebook post on their Pride column. And so I said, sure enough. And I guess basically in some form or fashion, I was one of the few people that kind of broke the internet because it skyrocketed all over Facebook. Whether if it was good or bad comments or not, I had so much support, and that's why I continue to wear all this while I'm at work as an advocate, not only for the community, but I've had so many people who say, you know, their kids are still kind of closeted or going through transitions, and seeing me like this at work gives them the courage to be who they want to be. And I say, go for it. Be who you want to be. Don't hold back. Because God forbid, if I held back, I would not have gotten this far to where I am today. Looks, aesthetic, and all. But this was definitely a better stream than the last few times, and I cannot thank you guys enough for this. And we've only hit the hour and 40-minute mark, which roughly would take about the same time if I were to do this going solo. So I thank you guys so much for sticking around, listening to my stories and me rambling on and just being goofy. And I will see y'all in the next post. So stick around and let's see where this ride takes us. Until then, love you guys so much and take care.